Hey everyone, I'm making this video because I had a hard time finding a guide on how to fly with the advanced flight model in Arma 3 when I wanted to get started practicing with it. Recently my unit had its practice server enforce advanced flight model, and that's when I finally thought it would be a good time to check out and play around with it. I don't have a joystick or pads, I only have an Xbox 360 controller, and flying with the keyboard and mouse with the AFM, just I've never figured out how to do it. So I took some time to set up the 360 controller. I'm going to link a video in the comments of someone else who has already done a good guide that I've followed. His name is JWG. I'll link it, and you can follow him to set up your tutorial, your your controller. I'll quickly go over mine just so you know what I'm playing with. I've unmapped every key of the Xbox controller and only have these set up. So I click forward, the left Xbox stick forward, backward, left and right. Then collective raise and lower, I have raise on the right mouse button and lower on the left mouse button, the shoulder buttons. I've got the pedals on the triggers, and I've got a turn on the right joystick of the controller. So yeah, I had a hard time actually figuring out how to do it, so I had to do it all by myself. And it took me a good 2 hours to understand some of the basics, and it took me another 2 or 3 hours to really get comfortable with taking off and primarily with landing without taking any damage or exploding. I am playing with only stress damage disabled, everything else enabled, and flight model on advanced. So right at the beginning, when you're turning your engine on, you'll notice the RPM button in the top left corner of the screen. You have to wait until that's not red or orange anymore. It means you have enough RPM to actually lift off. So with the normal flight model, you could just power shift or Z, I think it's shift, and just ram that and take off and going up in the air. You can do that with advanced flight model as well, but it's not as elegant and it can crash your helicopter, especially with the bigger helicopters. So with the collective map to my right shoulder mouse button, I can slowly tap it. I have to hold it a bit in the beginning to actually see it moving. If you're not familiar with it, it's moving the second whatchamacallit, the second I have to look it up. The gouge, whatever. You see the white line. It's moving up and down that I'm using it. That raises this collective, and just a little bit, and it'll take me off. The arrow on the same gouge is right now pointing at 0. That's 0 meters per second up or down. So if I increase the collective, that pointer will as well go up, since I'm climbing with 3, maybe 4 meters per second. Now how I handle the airplane with raising or lowering cyclic will also affect that. If I move it up, or technically down, the pointer will shoot way up because I'm climbing a lot more. But eventually it'll start to climb down. Since I'm losing speed, I'm actually going backwards. If I point it forward, right now it's rising, but as my speed increases, it'll point down. And it'll point down quite fast, dropping 10 to 15 meters per second. To counter that, I can increase the collective, and it'll slowly spin back up. And if I pitch up a bit more, it goes much faster. So at this point, I can put the collective way down and just keep a steady altitude with pitching it forward. Now I'm getting all these technical terms mixed up probably. That's not the point of this video. The point is to get someone who's never flown with the advanced flight model just a few basic tips to start training, because that's really what you need. You need to spend a couple of hours to train to get used to the airplane and how not the airplane, the helicopter, and how the new flight model works. Because it feels really awkward if you're only used to playing, Battlefield games or the basic flight model, where it's really easy to take off and get used to the helicopter. So right now I'm flying along. I'm pretty steady. I'm not going that fast. I'm going 100 kilometers an hour, and I'm about 80, 90 meters up in the air. If I want to land, say, next to that barn, the white barn where I'm pointing at right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to lower my collective. I'm going to pitch forward so that I don't drop too fast. And I lower my altitude. And while I slowly lose altitude with 3 to 4 meters per second, I slowly use my collective up or down as much as I need it to not drop or raise altitude far enough. And I'm counter steering the wind that's giving me some problems here. And when I'm about to hit the ground, about 2 or 1 meters, I'll just completely drop collective. And that's a pretty rough landing, but hey, I didn't explode. So to train, primarily what you want to do is get a nice easy liftoff where you don't fly too much to the left or right or forward or backwards. Steadily climb up and use your pedals a bit to steer where you want to go. Raise a bit more collective and pitch a bit forward. And that, I'm not sure why that happens. Maybe it's the wind that kicks me in. Anyway, get some nice speed up. You can get some altitude up if you want to. And play with the collective. See how it handles when you completely drop it. You can see the airplane react to it right away, and you really have to do something or you crash. So when you start playing with this, moving around, you get the general idea, and you can fly around just like you're used to from the normal flight model without much problems. You can still make some nice turns. Just keep in mind that where your collective meter is at. Is it right in the middle, like here? What does that do to your helicopter? How does it react to it? I mean, it doesn't do that much. I can make some nice turns. Okay, I dropped a bit in altitude, but I'm still flying around. If I completely punch it forward, airplane starts protesting right away. And even though it doesn't do much now, it's not a good idea to have it fully powered, because your airplanes will at some point protest, not airplane, helicopter. So you can even do a quarter and just try and use by movement to keep your airplane steady, keep it from falling down or spinning out of control. And then at a certain point, this won't work anymore. You've lost speed or altitude, and you need to do something to pick yourself back up. So at that point, the only thing left to do is to push your collective and power up and move along again. So once you get a bit of feeling of what the collective does, how it reacts, how it can slow your airplane down by dropping it completely and steering forward, you can start practicing landing. So right, I'm going to try to land on this edge. I've dropped quite a bit of speed. I need to put a lot more collective in it or I'm going to crash. And I've done it too much. Now I'm lifting off again. So I'm still pretty steady, so I'm going to just try to land here again. Oops, that was a mistake. So Crashed my helicopter. That's too bad. Part of the training. Just respawn and try it again. So I hope this kind of gives you an idea of how to train, how to get up in the air, use your collective to increase your speed by moving the helicopter to pitch it forward, or to drop your collective. So let's try this again. Get the engine on, let it spin up, get some RPM, get a nice easy lift off, fly around for a little bit and find a place to land and then try and land. It sounds easy, but it's difficult to do with the AFM. I've found it impossible to do with a keyboard and mouse, and since I don't have any joysticks or don't plan on buying any joystick or pedals, the Xbox 360 controller that I already own, it does the job pretty well. Now I'm never going to fly as a helicopter for my unit for missions because I'm not confident enough, but if I just want to fly around a bit, which I've always liked to do, jump in a helicopter and just do some crazy things, kill some time, then I can now do that after a bit of training. The only downside about using a 360 controller is, and especially with the collective buttons on the right or left shoulder buttons, is you don't have that much control over it. Tapping it like this, which you can hear, it doesn't do much of anything. You have to hold it in. If you hold it in for too long, it just shoots up or shoots down. So it's a bit awkward to use. You get used to it, but even after 45 hours of flying, I still make mistakes and accidentally completely drop or increase collective by accident. But then again, I'm spending a lot of time looking at the second couch with the collective meter on it, and that's probably what everyone should be doing, training. Of course, you need to look at where you're going, but you need to see if you're dropping altitude fast, because that's something you need to react to. Alright, let's find a place to land. The little ridge line over there seems pretty nice. Going about 70 kilometers an hour, I need to drop it down. I'm doing that by pitching forward and keeping the collective low. I'm dropping meters. I'm pushing my collective up, and I'm increasing it so that I don't slam the ground too fast. I'm still going too fast. More collective. Oops, I hit the ground there, but I had too much collective and I'm now back in the air. It's alright, I'll just lower my collective a little bit. Not too much, because just by tapping it a little bit, the meter shoots down, and at a certain point you lose altitude too fast and you hit the ground too fast. Now I'm already putting collective up. That was a bit too much. A bit more down, keeping the airplane steady. I'm only 1 meter up in the air, so I could basically just drop completely and land. Now that's not a great landing, but again, I didn't explode. I'm happy. Just put on the collective, move up a bit, get off this edge, move it forward, and we're off again. I'm only at a quarter collective right now. I'm keeping altitude by pitching up. I'm keeping my eyes on the second couch at all times, seeing if I don't drop too much altitude or if anything strange is happening. And I'm at a pretty steady pace, only 100 kilometers an hour, which is fast enough for me. If I go too fast, it changes pretty much everything. It changes how you prepare for landing, how far ahead you need to prepare for landing. It gets more difficult, but it's also fun to do, to fly around at nice speeds, quite low. it is a game, of course, so you want to have some fun with it. So if I want to land right now, I really need to drop my speed. If I would just pitch up like this, I would climb so fast that my landing would take forever. So in this turn, I'm dropping my collective, keeping my nose up so that I don't drop too many meters per second down. And look at my speed, how it's lowering. Not going that fast, but it's pretty decent. And I'm finding a nice little spot over here. I'm going to increase my collective so that I don't drop too fast. And I'm just letting the helicopter slowly descend while I increase my collective to stop me from dropping down too fast. I don't want to go past 5 meters per second. Ideally, this is what I want to be dropping at. Gotta look out for those trees. I can drop it a bit more. It's going a bit slow. Increasing it collective just a little bit and removing it all. So again, not a perfect landing, but I didn't explode. Alright, I'm gonna do this one more time. And I'm gonna land back at the base. Now I'm barely using my pedals to the left and right. That's also one of the downsides of using a 360 controller. There's too many things to do with your two hands. I'm not even using the right joystick on the Xbox that I have mapped to left and right turn, I believe. I'm doing it all with the left joystick, cyclic left and cyclic right. It's probably not the perfect way to do it, but it works just as fine. Dropping my collective to prepare for landing. Base is over there to my left. No, it's not. It's way more to the right. So pushing the collective a bit to keep my speed up. Pointing it the nose down just a little bit. So the base is over there. Gonna prepare for landing already. Dropping my collective. Pointing my nose up. It's decreasing my speed quite a bit. It's also increasing my height, my altitude, but that's alright because I need to see where I'm landing anyway because the buildings are a bit in the way. I'm going to increase my collective now since as I'm dropping too fast. Increasing it a bit more, still dropping too fast. That was a bit too much, but at least now I'm stable. I'm going to try to land by the Jeep over there. Drop it a bit more so I can lower my altitude. Using my pedals just a little bit to get a nice position. Moving a bit too much forward. Increasing my collective because I'm dropping down too fast. Pushing back a bit. And dropping my collective completely. Alright, so basic training, getting used to the collective, looking at the gouge, whatever, stupid word, making sure you're not dropping or increasing too many meters per second. Just keep it under your control. Land very smoothly. You'll crash 10, 15 times. Who cares? After about 3 to 4 hours, you're going to see results. You're going to be able to lift off, to fly around, and to land 8 out of 10 times. Get another 3 to 4 hours in, and I'm sure you'll be able to land 9 out of 10 times. And you can even, in a mission with your friends, fly them to wherever if there's not any pilots available. So, I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions in YouTube comments, and I'll answer them for sure.